Hi to everyone. In this lecture, I'm just going to discuss about applications of stacks. In some previous videos, we have discussed about what is stack and what are all its operations, all those things that we have discussed. And in this video, we are just going to discuss about its applications. What's the need for learning about its applications means it's very important to learn about it because whenever if you are learning about a particular data structure, we should know its applications, then only we can implement these concepts in your real-time applications, right? That's the need for this lecture. Okay. So what are all its application means? The first one is whenever if you are going to solve the arithmetic expressions, you can make use of the stack. So just for example, I'm saying whenever if you are going to make use of the Polish notation, and then reverse Polish notation. Reverse Polish notations, you will make use of the stack just for evaluating your arithmetic expressions. Okay, Polish notations and reverse Polish notations that you know very well. Once if you are taking the Polish notations means you are just going to place the operator before the operands. And once if you are taking the reverse Polish notations means you will first have the operands and the operator which will be placed next to it. For example, once if you are taking the Polish notations means you will have plus AB. You just notice here, usually whenever if you are writing the expression, you will write like this one, A plus B. This notation is called as infix notation. Once if you are writing all the operators before the operands means then it is called as a prefix, or else we may call it as a Polish notation. And once if you are taking the reverse Polish notation means here you will mention the operands at first, then you will place the operators. Such type of expressions may be called as a postfix, or else we may call it as a reverse Polish notations. In order to evaluate the expressions of Polish notations and reverse Polish notations, we will make use of the stack only. The reference for the Polish notation and reverse Polish notation, already I have posted one video, so just for reference I will give that link in the description section. You can refer it. Okay. And next one, applications regarding the stacks of one more applications regarding the usage of stack is sorting algorithms. Sorting algorithm means nowadays so many of you are making use of so many type of algorithms as to arrange your elements in an ordered format. All those algorithms will not make use of stack. So what type of sorting algorithms will make use of stacks? Or whenever if you are going to make use of the concept divide and conquer. A divide and conquer type of algorithm just for sorting your elements means by that conditions you will make use of the stacks. What is mean by divide and conquer means just for an example I am saying 44, I am just going to take 4 elements and then 33, then I am taking 66, then 55. So how many elements? So here I am just having the I am just marking it here. So I am just having 4 elements. I am just going to fragment this 4 elements into two subset. So here I will have 44, 33, and here I will have 66 and 55. Then I can again fragment this into two subset as 44 and 33, and here also I can fragment it as 66 and 55. So then I can combine these two alone, but in an ordered way. So I will get 33 and 44, and here also I am just going to combine it. I will have 55, 66, right? So then I am just going to join these two subsets, and I am just going to sort it here. So I am having 33, 44, then 55, 66. So you just notice one thing here. Initially I am just having 4 elements. These 4 elements are fragmented into 2 subsets, and then each subset is fragmented into several subsets, and then again I am trying to fragment it, but I couldn't fragment it. The reason is, here I am just having only one element in this subset, and here also I am having one element. In this level, if I am just looking into all the subsets, I am just having only one element. So in such a cases, I am just going to combine these two subsets. While combining, I am just going to do the sorting operations. I will compare 44 with 33. 44 is greater than 33. That's why 33 has been written as first. Then I have included 44. In the same way, here also I have written 55 and 66. Then what I am going to do it here means, I am just going to combine these two subsets by sorting the elements in each subsets. So in each subsets already all the elements are sorted, but while combining I should compare it with these elements. So 33 and 44, 44 is less than 55, so I can write it as it is, and then 55, 66 is written here. So once if you are looking into the upper portion of this one, we are doing the fragmenting process, and once if you are considering the lower portion, we are doing the combining process. Since we are fragmenting all these elements into several subsets, we are calling it as a divide. And after dividing all these elements into individual elements, we are just going to do the sorting operations by combining two subsets, and then again we are going to do the combining process. That's why we are calling it as a divide and conquer. It means we are going to perform the sorting operations by means of this fragmenting and joining process. No, that's why we are calling this methodology as a divide and conquer algorithm. Okay, so whatever the type of sorting algorithms, whichever it employs this divide and conquer method means, then that algorithm will make use of the stack. But why? What's the necessity of making use of the stack here is, as I said earlier, since we are fragmenting it into some parts. For example, here we have taken 4 elements, so it will be fragmented into 2 means it it will be fragmented into, means I will have 44 and 55, here 33 and 66. In order to store the upper bound and lower bound of each subset, I am just going to make use of the stack. For example, here the lower bound for this subset is 0, and the upper bound for this subset is 1. And in a same way, once if I am taking the lower bound for this subset is, lower bound is 2, and for the this one I am having 3. Since the index starts from 0, because list of elements which will get stored in array index starts with 0. So the index for 44 is 0, and for 55 1, and for 33 2, and for 66 3. So this stack, here the stack is used to store the lower bound alone. So we may call this one as a lower, and here we are just going to make use of the upper bound alone. So you can call this as upper. So for this applications only, we are going to make use of the stacks. For what applications? Just for storing the lower bound and upper bound for each subset, we are just going to make use of the stack. So in such a way, lower is one of the stack and upper is one of the stack. So the one sorting algorithm which uses the divide and conquer method is quick sort. We will see in detail about this quick sort in the later sessions, but now just have an idea as this is the method of divide and conquer algorithm, in which we are going to make use of the stacks just for storing the lower and upper bound. Okay. And next one application is wherever if you are going to make use of the function call or else recursion, then you will make use of the stacks. Just for an example, I am saying just you know very well about recursion. Recursion, it's nothing but the function which calls itself, right? So that is called as recursion. Just for an example, here I am just going to take the function factorial. Factorial of fact comma n. Okay. So here I am going to write if n is equal to 0, then set fact colon equal to 1 and return. Okay. Next, call factorial of fact comma n minus 1, then set fact colon equal to n into fact, then return. So you just see here, actually factorial is a function in which we are just going to pass the variable fact. So we have variable fact, okay, fact and the value of n. So we are just going to check the condition whether the n value is equal to 0. If it is equal to 0, then we are going to set fact colon equal to 1 and return. If not, if the value of n is not equal to 0 means, then we are going to call factorial itself. Okay. So then we are going to call factorial itself. Actually, I have written in lower case, that's why I am changing. Right. So call factorial of fact comma n minus 1. Then I have written the statement as fact colon equal to n into fact. Just for an example, I am saying have an assumption as I am just going to call the function factorial. So factorial of fact comma 3. Okay. So you just consider here the value of n is 3 because 3 which will be received by this variable. So now the value of n is equal to 3 and checks the condition, but here n is equal to 0. Here n is equal to 3. So it means we are checking for the condition whether the value of n is equal to 0 or not. But here the value of n is 3. So condition failed. So the program control comes to this place where we are going to call we are just going to call factorial of fact comma n minus 1. N minus 1 means 2. So you just see here 3 is calling 2. So again the program control comes to this place, comes to this one, and here it checks for the condition. Now the value of n is 2, but 2 is not equal to 0, so condition fails. So again comes to this place. By that time it will call factorial of fact of n minus 1 means you will get 1. So again this 1 will be received by this n and checks for the condition. Condition failed. Again program control comes to this place. By that time it will call factorial of fact of n minus 1 means 0. So you just check here 0. So again 0 will be assigned to this n and checks the condition. N is equal to 0 only because here also we have passed 0. By that time we are going to set fact colon equal to 1 and return. So here we are going to set fact colon equal to 0. Fact colon equal to 1 and return. Where it will be written where you have called the function. So where you have called the function factorial of fact of 0 means the next statement to this line is fact colon equal to n into fact. So for this place, next to this one, it will calculate fact colon equal to n into, it will calculate a fact colon equal to n into fact. N into fact. You just consider this one. This factorial of fact comma 0 will be called within the factorial of fact comma 1. It means the value for n here will be 1 and the value returned here will be, the fact value will be equal to 1. So it will be calculated. Return means again the program control return to the place where you have called this function. Where you have called the factorial of fact comma 1 within the factorial of fact comma 2. So here again it will calculate fact equal to n into fact. So it means fact colon equal to, what's the value of n here? 2. So 2 into 1, 2. And this value will be returned to the place where you have called the function. Where you have called the function when n is equal to 3, you have called factorial of 2. Within the factorial of 2, you have called factorial of 1. And within the factorial of 1, you have called factorial of 0. That's why this value which will be returned here means here also it will calculate the fact. So it means fact colon equal to n into fact means what's the previous value of fact? That's 2. And what's the value of n here? 3. So 3 into 2, 6. 6 will be stored to the variable fact. And return means where it will be returned, where you have called the factorial of fact comma 3. So the final result is 6 only. So this is a concept by which we are going to implement the recursion. But what's happening here is, whenever if you are going to make use of the concept recursion, just notice one thing. Actually, this factorial of 3 is calling the function 2 and 2 is calling 1 and 1 is calling 0. After executing all the statements here, again the program control returns back to 1 and then from 1 to 2 and then from 2 to 3. How it will be returned exactly means that the concept of stack involves. How it would be means, just I will show you by means of the diagrammatic representation. So you just see here, factorial of 1, factorial of 3 calling factorial of 2, 2 is calling factorial of 1, 1 is calling 0. So there are so many statements available in factorial. Just for an example I am saying 5 statements are available in the factorial function. Okay, so each block will have that 5 statements. So for in this 5 statements, in the third statement, in the third line, I am just going to call the factorial function means the place where I am calling this factorial functions, that location which will get stored in stack. That location which will get stored in stack. And the location where your program control be shifted will also be stored in the stack. So just for example, you can take it's for storing the previous location, it's for storing the current location. Just for an example I am saying, okay. So this stack is used for storing the locations here. For example, in the third line, the factorial function called factorial is present means that location which will get stored here. Then your program control is shifted to this factorial means that location will also get stored here, or else you can store it even in this same stack itself. For example, in order to avoid the confusions, we can have the stack name as location here. So the first location, just for example 2000, will get stored here. From the location 2000, it may be shifted to the place to call the factorial of 2. Just have an assumption, it is the location 8000. And it executes all the statements. By that time also, in the third line you are going to call factorial of 1. So it means it will store that location. For example, it will store it as 5000 and then again shifted to this to this factorial of 1, and again it will store that location. Just for example, I am saying 18,000, and then again it will be shifted to the next one place, for example 7,000, and so on. So how the value will be returned from this factorial of 0 to 1 means it will take the reference from the location stored here. Okay, so what's the location? 7000. 7000 is a location of factorial of 0. It will be written there. There you have where you have called the factorial of 0 within the factorial of 1, it's 18,000. So with the reference to the addresses stored here, actually the values will be returned to the function where you have called the function. Can you understand it clearly? It might quite confusing for you. Just I'm going to say one more example for you. You consider the person A. A is calling B. B is calling C. Okay. I'm just sending one gift to C. Okay. But how I am just going to send the gift to C means I don't know the location of C. So it means but I know the location of A. So what I am just going to do it, I am just going to send the gift to C through A. So A will transfer that gift to B, and B will transfer that gift to C, and then C will send the acknowledgement to B since it knows its address, and then B will send the acknowledgement to A since B knows its address. These intermediate addresses which will get stored in stacks, that's all. Okay. So whatever the algorithm or else whatever the functions where you are going to make use of the recursion means definitely you will make use of the stacks. So these are all some of the applications of stacks. I hope that you got a clear idea about its applications. In case if you are having any doubt, kindly post your queries. Okay. Thank you.